take ownership. Take extreme ownership. Don't make excuses. Don't blame any other person or any other thing. Get control of your ego. Don't hide your delicate pride from the truth. Take ownership of everything in your world, the good and the bad. Take ownership of your mistakes, take ownership of your shortfalls, take ownership of your problems, and then take ownership of the solutions that will get those problems solved.
You have to realize that when you are afraid to go, when you are afraid to go and become and do the thing, you are creating a life of automatic loss. You cannot win, you cannot become, you cannot build this dream that you have, this life, without actually going. You have to understand.
There's a hell of a lot more to you than you think, like way more. Enough to cope with the trouble of the world inside you. There's enough to cope with the trouble of the world. And if you had enough courage, you could let that out. Enough courage and faith, you could let that out, and everything would be better because of it. Really, really. And so that's a good story, and it's also true. And so I'm trying to tell that story.
Everyone is jealous of what you've got. No one is jealous of how you got it. People see the trophies, but not the training ground.
Everybody wants the view, but no one wants the climb.
It's not glamorous. It's lonely. As you start changing, everything around you starts changing, people around you start, it's not even fun in the beginning. And so you'd either have to have an incredible amount of hope or a ridiculous amount of inspiration and delusion, or you have to be in so much pain that the alternative to continuing this pain that you're in is to try something different because it's the only thing that might be slightly less painful than what you're doing.
How are you living? Are you the best physical shape that you can be? Are you the best mental shape that you can be? How's your finances? What'd you do today? Did you do what you're supposed to do? Or did you f*** off another day and put your dreams off until tomorrow? And then tomorrow you're gonna do the same thing. And then the next day you're gonna do the same thing. And eventually you're gonna run out of time and you're gonna say, oh shit, that was my life.
I cannot get away from who the fuck I am. Who I am is who I'm proud of. I'm very proud of the hardworking, calloused hands, calloused mind, human being that I literally made this person with a lot of help from above, a lot of guidance from saying you're gonna go left when you should go right. That horrible voice that wouldn't let me get away from myself and hide forever. I listened to it. And the only way you can set the example is you have to always be willing to work. I don't follow people who talk about what they used to do in life. I don't give a fuck what you used to do. I don't care, you used to be the basketball. I don't care. What are you doing today? You may not be that person now, but what are you still doing to try to excel in life?
I think the best way to prove your value is to work, is to learn, is to absorb, to be a sponge. But you always want to outwork your potential. As hard as you believe you can work harder than that.
The solution to your problem is not going to be found in the problem. It's not going to be found in there. You have to get out of the problem so that you can look at it, make an assessment, and you can assess how to solve the problem or whether you need to solve the problem or not. I mean, there's a lot of things in my life right now where I shrug my shoulders and go, okay. It's okay. Oh, someone's saying this. Okay. Roger that. Carry on. No factor. Move on.
You can sit there and you can analyze and you can think and you can consume and you can learn all day long. But until you actually put pen to paper and start to really build shit in your own life and execute, none of that's going to matter. And when you paralyze yourself from taking action, you are creating a loss by default. So it is much better to take imperfect action than to do nothing perfectly.
As your courage grows so that you can confront more and more of the horror of life, that a spirit begins to develop within you that gives you a strength that's commensurate with your daring, that's walking with God. That's the same thing. So the promise is that if you had the courage, something would be with you to allow you to bear up nobly under the burden.
There is no light without dark. I think the ancient Chinese nailed it when they put the yin and yang together. You have the black and the white, and they flow into each other, and there's a little bit of white in the black, there's a little bit of good in the evil, and there's a little bit of evil in the good. And if life is perfect all the time, you don't appreciate anything. I actually think one of the worst lives you can have is a life where everything goes right all of the time. If you're spoiled to that degree, especially as a man, as soon as you reach any kind of difficulty, you're gonna crumble. So I've had to get up a bunch of times, and I do not pray for an easy life. I pray for a difficult life with difficult challenges to solve and being strong enough to handle them. I've never tried to make my life easier. In fact, quite the opposite. And I think that life is going to continue along this way.
Your excuses will destroy you and take everything that you ever wanted from you if you let them. Because when you look around at your life and you look around at your job and your financial situation and your relationship and your physical health, and when you look at all those things and all the problems that you may have with those things, and you say, the reason I have all those problems is because of me, that can hurt. That can sting.
It's like when Kobe said, I was chasing perfection and excellence, even though I knew I would probably never catch it. But just the fact that I was willing to chase it, I would defeat most of my opponents, because most of my opponents would never chase something that didn't have any guarantees attached to it. Chasing perfection and excellence, even though I knew I would never catch it. But he had the courage to chase it because he knew what it would turn him into. And most cats wouldn't even go down the course to chase it because it didn't have any guarantees attached to it.
When you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. And when you get to the point where all you want to do is be successful as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. That most of you say you want to be successful, but you don't want it bad. You just kind of want it. You don't want it badder than you want to party. You don't want it as much as you want to be cool. Most of you don't want success as much as you want to sleep. And I'm here to tell you today, if you're going to be successful, you've got to be willing to give up sleep. If you really want to be successful, some days you're going to have to stay up 3 days in a row. You got to want to be successful so bad that you forget to eat.
Every motherfucking champion, every single one, fucking Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, fucking all the greatest achievers, fucking Steve Jobs, all of them have tremendous amounts of dark energy, and that's what they operated on. And they might be able to compartmentalize it and say, hey, I know to win, I have to practice this, right? Because a lot of people get wrapped up in this dark energy and they get so consumed with it that they forget what it is that makes them great at what they do. So they forget their skill set. They forget they got to put in the reps. You have to delineate, I'm taking energy from here and I'm going to do this productive action over here because it's moving me forward.
There's a saying, there's a quote that I really believe in, that when the pain of the current reality becomes greater than the fear of change, that's when we change. So like when the pain becomes so intense that it's greater than the fear that you have of the unknown, then you'll go into the unknown. You can stand there at the door looking at this abyss, but when it becomes so fucking painful that you walk into that, that's when the change happens.
You're not going to score on every shot.
Right.
Doesn't mean you shouldn't take the shots. Doesn't mean you shouldn't try to hit the goal. But part of being able to continue to take shots is to have the strength of character to tolerate the fact that in that instance you weren't on top.
It doesn't matter how hard you work as an individual, if you accept mediocrity from everyone else around you. You can stay after every day and do all this extra work, but if you keep letting people be average around you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Now on the flip side, guys, if you do call people out right now, if you don't let people cut corners, you will see a result that you're proud of later.
Do you know when I was homeless, I told God every day, if you let me make it, when I get there, I'm gonna tell everybody it was you. Well, guess what? I'm telling you that it was him. I have no education. I ain't got a degree of any kind. What you see today is a boy that come out the bottom, who believed in him when it wasn't no sign of me getting over, who kept doing this thing that his mother taught. She said, when it get dark for you and you can't find your way, and boy, I was lost. She said, don't forget to pray. Don't be ashamed to pray. And don't ever be too proud to pray, because prayer changes things. You have got to pray.
Take ownership of your mission. Take ownership of your job. of your team, of your future, and take ownership of your life and lead.
You can't just pout and scream and kick your fists and say it's not fucking fair, because guess what? It isn't fucking fair. It's never gonna be fair. It's never been fair. And you screaming and throwing a tantrum about it is irrelevant. No one cares. The world doesn't care. God doesn't care. Your family doesn't care. It's not fucking fair, motherfucker. Get that through your brain, okay? Now, take all of the negative shit, all the shit your parents said, all the shit your cousins said, all the shit your friends and family said, all the laughter, all the doubts, all the eye rolls, all the shit your girlfriend said, and start to fucking remember that shit. Don't memory hole it in some place and forget about it and say, oh, my trauma. No, say, hey, fuck you for not believing me. Now I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna use this energy to become so big, so successful, so powerful, so undeniable that when I walk in the room, you look at the fucking floor. That's what you want to be.
Sadness is a perceived lack of options. It's why it feels like hopelessness, because you don't know what to do. You don't know what options are available. You see none, which is why it feels like there's no way out. Anxiety is many options but no priorities, which is why you feel scattered but you can't decide. They feel very different, but fundamentally, those are the difference in the conditions that make people feel like they're anxious or they feel like they're sad.
I found out that your worst enemy is you and your ability to stay true to the thing that you want to do. If you lie to yourself and cheat yourself, well, then you're not fooling anybody but yourself. But if you actually get up every day and you got that action, and you got that energy that's like, I have to go and do this because I'm trying to get here. And you know every day you're working towards that, well, you're going to get there. It may take you longer, some may do it shorter, but you're not going to lose.
You will always have moments when you don't believe in yourself and when you're not too sure whether the fight is worth it anymore. And those are the hardest moments. That's when you can really prove to yourself that you can pick yourself up.
People get frustrated not achieving what they want because they assume that they're going to jump across a cavern in one leap. But if you picture your goals like you're trying to build a bridge across that crevice, and every brick that you put on that bridge is progress, and each one of those bricks represents a skill that you need to learn along the way. It just takes all the way until you get to the other side that you can actually walk across. And so the walking across is the outcome. It's the external perceived achievement. But if you can reframe your progress as, what are the 100 things on this checklist? What are the 100 skills that I need, the micro skills that I need? Then you can have much faster feedback cycles of wins that you're achieving along the way. And I think if you can define it that way, then you can feel like you are winning, A, more often, but B, with higher intensity, because as you win, skills stack on top of each other.
I know I'm going to do it. That's the haunting part, is that it's going to happen. It has to happen. And that's a fact. There's no get out of jail free card, bro. None. Like, that is a life that I don't know. I don't have that. I'm not good enough, smart enough. I'm not talented enough to do that. Some people are. Some people can start at 1. Some people don't have to start at all. If you lack talent, you can't sit back and say, I'll start in half an hour. I can't do that. I gotta start now. And after I get back from starting, I gotta start again. And then when I get done with that run or that study session, if it wasn't good enough, I gotta go back again.
You have your feelings in one hand and your thoughts in the other, and they're kind of like in this battle. It's like, okay, what's gonna happen next? How are they gonna do this? And you go back and forth. Typically people are texting and calling and looking at drinking and doing whatever it is to try and resolve this battle. The solution is to see that battle and to sit back into this third position that where you're like, okay, this is both happening. These are both happening. And to sit in this third position where you realize trying to reconcile just with your thoughts or just with your emotions or settle down your emotions or settle down your thoughts is futile. To get in this third position where the acceptance of that suffering shows up and you're able to just like sit with the suffering. From that place of suffering, you start to drop into what are the thoughts that make you feel a little bit looser and more relaxed in your body? What are the thoughts that make you feel kind of more constricted? And you just start to use that as a bit of a navigator.
I just cracked one day and I was like, fuck happiness, because it felt so out of reach that I was like, just fuck it. I'm not even gonna shoot for it. I'm just gonna do stuff. And that's all I'm gonna do. I'm just going to do stuff. I looked up and I was like, I'm not miserable. And so I actually identified for a very long period of time as, I'm not a happy person, comma, and that's okay.
There's a quote from one of my English teachers at Lower Merion named Mr. Fisk. He had a great quote that said, "Rest at the end, not in the middle." And that's something I always live by. I'm not gonna rest, I'm gonna keep on pushing now. There are a lot of answers that I don't have, even questions that I don't have. But I'm just gonna keep going. I'm just gonna keep going, and I'll figure these things out as we go, right? And you just continue to build that way. So I try to live by that all the time.